Our journey begins even before we take our first breath. From the moment of conception, the circumstances surrounding our birth shape the essence of who we become. But what if this very act, this very beginning, is already poisoned? Humanity has misunderstood the most fundamental aspect of its existence. The union that brings life into being has lost its sacredness, its reverence. We approach it with guilt, condemnation, and unawareness. The act of creation is no longer a conscious, joyful experience. Instead, it's driven by pain, sorrow, and escapism. A cheerful heart seeks union through love, while a sorrowful one uses it as an escape from despair. This unconscious approach distorts the energy that creates life, resulting in children born out of turmoil, guilt, and anger. Imagine creating life with bitterness or anguish. The energy that flows into the act poisons the very essence of the soul entering this world. This poisoning is not merely metaphorical. It leaves a lasting imprint on the psyche and spirit of the child, who grows up inheriting the unresolved emotions of the parents. The very nature of the act influences the quality of the soul being born, shaping its journey from the very beginning. Our birth represents a severance, a disconnect. The child, uprooted from the warmth of the mother, yearns to reconnect, to find the love it once felt. This longing is not merely physical, it's the soul's cry for unity. But in today's world, this connection is tainted by our misunderstanding of love, of union. From the moment the umbilical cord is cut, the child begins its journey into a world that often fails to nurture its need for unity and love. This loss of connection becomes a lifelong quest, a search for something that seems elusive yet essential. The sages of old understood this longing. They saw it as the soul's attempt to return to its source, to merge with the infinite. We've reduced this sacred energy into something mechanical, something devoid of love and reverence. As a society, we've turned away from understanding its true purpose. The energy that could uplift us, that could lead us to eternal joy, is wasted, leaking through the cracks of ignorance. And worse, we've allowed guilt and suppression to turn this energy into a force of destruction. The more it's condemned, the more it becomes distorted. This is the root of so much suffering in our world. Wars, violence, and the chaos we see around us are reflections of this internal conflict, this poisoned energy. The sages taught us that the misuse of this energy could lead to endless cycles of suffering and despair. But it doesn't have to be this way. The path forward lies in understanding. To transform this energy, we must approach it with love, with joy, with consciousness. The act of union should be a celebration of life, a moment of divinity. Only then can we create life that is pure, that is untouched by the poisons of anger and guilt. The sages spoke of a union so profound that it transcends the physical, merging into the infinite. They called it the doorway to samadhi. Imagine a world where every birth is a result of this sacred understanding, a world filled with joy, peace, and love. Such a birth requires awareness, the shedding of guilt, and a return to the wisdom of the ancients. So, what can we do? It starts with reflection. It starts with questioning our approach, our intentions, our energy. To heal humanity, we must first heal our perception of this fundamental truth. Knowledge is power, and the knowledge of union is the greatest power of all. The ripple effects of misunderstanding and poisoned beginnings extend far beyond individuals. Families, communities, and nations inherit this distorted energy, leading to societies that are fragmented and full of conflict. Imagine if every birth carried the promise of love and awareness instead of the burden of guilt and misunderstanding. The world would transform overnight. The teachings of the past, from sages, saints, and enlightened beings, all emphasize the same truth. The energy that creates life is divine. To treat it as anything less is to harm ourselves and the world around us. Our current crisis stems from our failure to recognize this divinity, to nurture it, and to let it transform us. It is time to envision a new beginning, a birth that is sacred, conscious, and filled with love. This vision requires us to re-examine our deepest beliefs, to shed the guilt and fear that cloud our understanding, and to embrace the purity of creation. Imagine a world where every child is born into love. Every soul begins its journey untainted by the burdens of the past. This is not a distant dream. It is a possibility within our reach. All it requires is awareness, courage, and a commitment to change. But how do we begin? It starts with education, not just in schools, but within families. We must teach children to approach the concept of creation with reverence. Conversations about the sacredness of union should be open and honest. Silence and shame have no place in a society striving for higher consciousness. Secondly, we must heal ourselves. The wounds we carry, passed down through generations, must be acknowledged and addressed. Therapy, meditation, and spiritual practices can help cleanse the energy that has been tainted over time. Finally, we must advocate for a cultural shift. Art, literature, and media play a powerful role in shaping perceptions. Let us create stories and visuals that celebrate the sacredness of life, that remind us of the divine nature of existence. This journey is not about returning to the past, but about creating a future where the eternal flame of love and awareness burns brightly. The birth of a new consciousness begins with us, with our choices, our actions, and our commitment to change. Let this be our legacy. Let us ensure that every soul entering this world is met with love, purity, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Our birth may have been poisoned, but our rebirth, our transformation, is in our hands. Let us rise above guilt, above condemnation, and reclaim the sacredness that has been lost. The journey begins with awareness, with understanding, with love.